Hello and welcome to the Election Corner on One Man Think Tank. Today I thought I'd take a brief pause from all the predicting to do a basic comparison between Trump and Biden's national polling and Hillary Clinton and Trump's national polling in 2016. So, and of course Trump and Biden is 2020, just to clarify. The reason for this is pretty simple. Frankly, a lot of people are doing the usual, you need to be careful. Clinton was polling ahead of Trump the entire time and then she lost. Which, that's a good case of caution. But I think it also is a tad rudimentary in its thought process. So what I've done is I've decreased the full Biden versus Trump timeline down to the same timeline as the 2016 election provides us on Real Clear Politics, using their averages, which are unweighted. They did from July of 2016 to November. We only have, of course, July to September on account of the fact the other 2 months haven't happened yet. So, let's dive right in and take a look at how Biden and Trump have been doing. As you can see, we have a fairly consistent map here, where Biden is polling basically ahead of Trump at all points in time, with him hovering around 49 to 50%. While Trump, keep in mind, he is recovering from a dip here, but overall has had a slight increase from about 40% to around 40 to 43%. This has resulted in their average ever slightly decreasing from about 9 points at its peak to around 6 to 7 points now. Biden's lowest polling numbers at about a 6-point lead. So that's the Biden and Trump. Over to 2016. Right now we're looking at the four-way race, and this is already showing some of the biggest difference. There was a lot of four-way polling in 2016. There were some head-to-head polls, which are not included here. As you can see, we'll look at the two-way race in a moment. But just look, it's really hard to represent now, when thinking back to 2016, how truly prevalent the two third-party candidates were. The Libertarian Johnson and the Green Jill Stein. Gary Johnson for his full name. And they were very prevalent. In the end totals, they never got much of the polling. Between the two of them, they didn't even break 5 points. But they were very prevalent in the election and could have taken some points both from Trump and Clinton. But as you can see, we'll only do June to September right now, before we get some real analysis. Or July to September. July, Clinton has a lead of about 4 points, ballooning to a lead of about 6 points in mid-August, which would then continue to decline throughout September. At the point we're at now, Clinton is on a slight increase, while Trump is about to have a drop before having a massive gain before Election Day of about 3 points. So at about this point in September, Clinton has about a 2-point lead, 1.5. Her lowest point is actually a point where Trump was in the lead by 2 points. Also, conveniently, at this point in time, Gary Johnson had some of his best polling. However, the third-party candidates really polled the best in September, right about the time everything got real thin between Hillary and Clinton and Donald Trump. So let's now do the two-party race, because this is the one that's really going to matter. Which, as you can see, goes much further back and has Clinton with this massive 50-point lead, and then everything drops off. It's actually quite fascinating to watch the wave cycle on this. But let's go to the last 6 months of the election year. We can't do 3, unfortunately, and if I do a custom one, it'll just reset after 5 minutes. So but it gives us some good perspective. So going into July, starting in July, Donald Trump is coming back up from another dip. Now, keep in mind, this is only a dip of about 4 points, actually, so it looks more dramatic than it is. While Clinton is hovering at a solid low mid-40s area. We see that now, with only 2 candidates being considered, that point when Donald Trump takes over, he takes over by about 1 point, and it looks much more dramatic. but continuing to follow the polling, Clinton goes back up to high 40s before dropping back down to mid 40s. And to continue on to Election Day, both Clinton and Trump Clinton has a large drop before Election Day, while Trump has a massive bump of about 3 points. But the entire time, while Trump is gaining, he gains about 1 point a month, if you had to average it out. So starting out at 39-ish in July, and ending at about 45-ish in September. So just over a point a month. While Clinton, while she was recovering, had slight gains, never broke the high 40s margin except right here at her highest point of victory, which was in October. Or her highest margin of victory, which was in October. She then proceeded to drop again. And the final polling for them was a polling average of 46.8% for Clinton and 43.6% for Trump. Clinton gained about 1.5 points. Trump gained just under 3 points, or 2.5 points, I think exactly. The total margin of error was 2 points. And going back to the Joe Biden map, so Max is different, but just looking at the lead up, the closest Joe Biden has gotten at about 6 points is Hillary Clinton's highest margin of victory. Most of the time she was polling, so as you can see, okay, about 7 points right here when Trump had that big drop off. But there was a lot of, but Clinton had this wide range of polling between 6 points and at one point, -1 points. While for Biden, it's been this straightforward Biden holding about 50%, while Trump is slowly gaining at, remember how we talked about that 1 point change? Or 1 point, about 2? So 40, 42, 43. Trump is gaining about a point a month, give or take a little bit. But if we look more at the full polling data, he's been hovering about this. If we just take the full base trend, it kind of goes whoop, whoop, whoop. Trump at about 42, 43 points. While Biden, you see a decrease and then a heavy stabilization. You're still seeing those waves, mind you, where they get closer and then further apart. But Biden's, by far and away, gaining more points. And also, Biden's average is about 49 to 50 points. Hillary Clinton's, on the other hand, let's do just the full year. Her average, ignoring the brief bit after the convention when she got a massive convention bump, is about 46, 45, depending on which month we're in. While Trump is actually polling better. In this case, well, he's polling about where he was then. So if we assume Trump continues gaining like he is, and ends up at about 45 points, which, to be fair, this was the closest they got for Election Day. Just about here-ish, when Trump's at 45.3 and Hillary Clinton's at 47.5. That is almost where they were at, a 2-point difference in practice. While if we apply that same logic to Biden, even if we assume Trump gets up to 45 points and Biden has a slight dip down to 48, it would be about the same, but with different meaning behind it, because Clinton's been losing. Clinton was losing points the entire time. The point when Trump spiked happened multiple times. He got his actual polling numbers quite a few times on this map. Well, it didn't happen with Biden. That's the big difference. Even if they get closer, them getting closer means something different for Biden than it does for Hillary Clinton. Hillary Clinton, much like Trump, was constantly fighting to maintain high polling numbers, while Biden is having no such difficulty. That's the big difference between the two. One candidate is running. Biden has been polling high this entire time, with no signs of a serious drop-off. Like, his drop-offs put him in the 49 category, while Trump, while he's slowly been gaining, has managed to only, at his highest spike in February, which happened a long time ago on this, happened on this map, was about here. And as you can see, they both got post-convention spikes. But right here, Trump actually passed Clinton. Trump's never passed Biden. Biden's polling really well. And also, like I said, there's none of the third-party polling. It's a lot harder for people who are skeptical about Trump to go and say, well, I'll vote Libertarian. And then on actual election day, not show up. So there you have it, the big difference. I'll do the states probably at some point if I can't think of something else. But in practice, there's your big difference. Biden and Trump, you've got these two basically straight lines across two categories. Thank you for resetting right as I'm doing that. Trump around 43 points and Biden around 49 points. Clinton around 43 points, with a slight increase near the end, and Trump around 38 points with a slight increase at the end. And there you have it. If you liked the video, please leave a like down below. Also, feel free to drop a comment. If you want to see more from the channel, click a subscribe button and the notification bell. Otherwise, if you want to see me outside of YouTube, I have a Twitter, at OneManThinkTan1, Roman numeral. You link down in the description below. And, most importantly, as always, have a wonderful day.